Hello, everyone. This is Sincere of Teacher Sincere's channel, and welcome. So, this is an impromptu video, totally unplanned, but it's just I had a little something to stimulate me to talk about this, and I feel like it's worth talking about. Um, and it stems from an incident that happened last week. Okay, during work. Um, Now, I'm if you're new to my channel, I am an English as a foreign language teacher. I teach English to non-native speakers of English. I teach online, and the majority of my students are adults, but I do teach some teenagers. Um, I started out as a sixth grade social studies and English teacher in my country, and I have taught in here in the United States where I live, and also in the countries of Botswana through Peace Corps. Botswana is in southern Africa, and also I've taught in the country of Turkey as well. Um, so um, excuse me, let me clear my throat. So, getting to what I want to talk about. So, I've been teaching online now for close to 8 years. Okay. I've taught with three companies, three online ed tech groups. Okay. The first one was in Vietnam, based in Hanoi. The second one was a Swiss company. And the other one is this one, my current company I've been with now a little over 3 years, is an American company. Okay. I'm in what we call an independent contractor. I'm a freelancer, and all of my students, I teach different things. Okay, everybody's learning something different according to their level and their interest. But last week, I had one of the worst experiences, or rather frustrating experiences that I've had in all the almost 8 years that I've been online. And it wasn't because of the student being rude or anything. Every so often it's kind of rare you'll run across students that's kind of rude. But generally, my experience has been pretty positive, and I'm not trying to make everything out to be like, oh, everything is just perfect. Okay, English is not. I mean, teaching is not an easy profession. A lot of people think that, oh, teaching is easy. No, and it takes a lot of energy. It really does. And if you're older like me, it takes even more energy. So you really have to be up to speed with it. But anyway, so last week, I had a situation where I had a student call me. She made a reservation. She is a Brazilian student, and this is, no reflection on Brazilian students, because I've been teaching people in Brazil now for the whole time that I've been with this current company or ed tech group. The Brazilian people are very polite. All the groups that I teach, there are a lot of polite people, very polite, willing to learn, open to learning, all of that. Okay. But then you sometimes have students that, people have their problems. Okay. Nobody's life is perfect. Okay. And so when people do things, you have to think about, well, what's going on in their life? Why are they acting this way? Why did they do this? Okay. Because like I said, nobody's life is a bed of roses. Okay. Even if they're a billionaire, people will think, oh, if you're rich, you're rich, you're happy. Not necessarily. Okay. If you're popular, you're happy. Not necessarily. We've Classic example in my society, in my country, is over the years there have been entertainers to commit suicide. Okay. So if you're popular like that, if you're committing suicide and you're popular like that and famous like that and wealthy like that, it shows that these are not things that are going to make you completely happy. Okay. So when people do things, you have to think about their state of mind. Why did they do it? Okay. Yeah, there are just some people that are cruel and bad. Okay, that's life. But then there are other people that have problems, and they are doing certain things. And sometimes people do things out of flat out ignorance. They just don't know. Okay. So, what happened last week? This Brazilian young woman called me. She made a reservation. I knew nothing about her. She made it like the day before. Students can just call me randomly if I'm online. I have a schedule that I'm online. I set my own schedule, or they can make reservations with me. I have a calendar. All the teachers have a calendar, and you can make reservations. So she made a reservation the day before, and she called me. And when you're teaching online, or if you're studying online, or if you're doing any kind of study, you need a quiet space. Okay, you need a quiet space. You can't really concentrate, hear and listen if you have a noisy if you're in a noisy area. So this young woman called, and it was like I had never, all the times I've been teaching on time online, most of the time it's been pretty quiet. Okay, now there have been some cases in the past when I taught for the Vietnamese company, for the ed tech group. There have been students that have sort of been in sort of slightly noisy. You can hear background noise, but it wasn't so bad. Some of them, I think, apparently like are sitting outside, or you. I've heard when I was teaching students in like Vietnam and Thailand. Sometimes you might hear a rooster crow. Okay, so and I thought it was funny. It wasn't a distraction, but this young woman called, and it was just like the television was blasting, and then I heard all this knocking, like somebody was hammering. And then I got up and I was introducing myself, and I'm like, how in the world am I going to be able to hear her and to be able to think and be able to correct her, because I'm so distracted by all this noise. And I was thinking, why is she in an area like that where it's so noisy? Looks like she would want to be able to hear me clearly and be able to concentrate. How can you do this with the TV blasting, somebody's like they're hammering, and it was construction. She told me that was construction going on in the apartment, in the building. So and I could barely, I couldn't hardly hear her. I was being distracted. So, at first I thought, sometimes some of my colleagues, what they will do if things are not going well with a call, okay, with a lesson, they will tell the student, I'm going to cut the call. Now, I've never done this. All the years that I've been up there, even if a student was rude or something like that, or whatever, I wouldn't cut the call. I see it all the way through. So, because I'm like, well, it's only 30 minutes. Generally, students study with me. Some students take 15-minute classes, depending on their income. Others, generally 30-minute classes. Some come once or two or three times a week. And some students have 1 hour classes. Okay. And they come like once a week or twice a week. So, all this noise was going on. I'm like, what do I do? I can't hardly understand her. It sounds like her English is not that good. That her English is, I need to be able to, she needs to be in a quiet space so I can correct her English. Okay. Or have her, if the English, like we have the option, like if a student is saying a word so badly and it's totally unintelligible, they have the option that there's a chat box on in the virtual classroom, and it has a translator, and they can type in the word in their language, and then it will come out. I can click on it and it will come out and give the translation in English, and that's really helpful for me. And I will tell students sometimes, I don't understand what you're saying. Could you type the actual word or words, and I can give you and then I can see what you're saying, and then I can tell you the correct way to say it, and then type it back out so they can see it. I'm not sure, they might can see it, the English translation, when I click on it, but it's a very useful tool. So it was so much noise, and her English was not very intelligible. So what I finally, I was like, do I end the call or what? So I decided, it came to mind, ask her, can she move to another room? Is it possible to move to a quiet area in that apartment? So what I did, I told her to move. I asked her, could she move, and she did. She immediately moved, and she made some kind of excuse. She was telling me there's an old person in the apartment and they can't hear well, and they have television going loud, and they're doing construction. But I was thinking, she went to a room and it was quiet, and I'm just like, why weren't you in there in a quiet space anyway? Look like if you're going to take a lesson and learn, that you would want to be in a quiet space. So she was saying something about it was, very hot there and they didn't have air conditioning or something like that. Fine, I can understand that. But still, if you're going to do something, if you're going to, the rules, like for teaching online, they give us every company that I've worked for, they said you need a quiet space and you need to have reliable internet. Okay. If you don't have a quiet space, if you don't have reliable internet, you really can't teach for their companies. You can't teach for these kind of companies. You need to be in a quiet area. And you need to have reliable internet. But anyway, she was saying that so when we got into the lesson, we started the lesson, and I asked her what she wanted to study, and she finally came out that she wanted to study for the IELTS examination. And the IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. And it's an exam that people will take, non-native speakers will take, to show their English proficiency. They take it to enter certain universities around the world, and also for immigration. And some people take it, their job wants them to take it so that they will have the certification for that to prove that their English is good enough. Okay. I've had students in the past, they work like for international companies, and they need to have, it's to their benefit to have done well on the IELTS, to have a high score to show that their English is good. Okay. Because these companies have international clients, they have conferences, different things, and they need to be able to speak English. We can understand English. So, so I told her, okay, all right. And I was thinking immediately, because her English was very, it's certainly, if you're going to take the IELTS, your English need to be at least at a level, I would say at least intermediate. Okay, intermediate level, not pre-intermediate, not beginner, not elementary. It needs to be at least intermediate, because the IELTS examination is not easy. Okay, I would say that there are Americans that would not do well on it. Okay, and it's made up into four parts. You have speaking, reading, listening, and writing. Okay, it's a four-part exam. And I was listening to her, and I was thinking I could barely understand her at times. She was speaking, but her pronunciation was very bad. And so I, I was thinking, I went ahead and just was honest with her. I said, if you're going to take the IELTS exam, your English, I said, the exam, the level of the material in it, some of the material that you have to do in it, the reading, the writing is advanced level. Okay. You need to be at least intermediate. Okay. And I was just honest with her, because I don't like to lead people down the garden path and make things out to how they are not. And then it creates a problem for them later. Because the thing with the IELTS exam is, it can range anywhere from around $250 up to about over a little over $300 when you take it. Okay. And if you're in a country that is a country where the annual income is low, 300 $200 or $300 for an exam, and you have to take it over and over until you can get a high enough score, you're losing money. Okay. I also told her that most of the time when students take it, they don't get a high enough score the first time. Okay, they have to take it at least two or three times. So think about, if you're paying 250 and you have to take it three times, and you live in a country where the income is low. Okay, that's a lot of money that you're losing. Okay, you can easily lose over $1,000 if you're not up to par with this. Okay. And a common problem with a lot of students is this: when they're going to take these types of exams like IELTS and TOEFL, which is another one of them, is they just assume that their English is good enough, and it's not. Okay, they think the exam is easier what it is than it is, and these type of exams are to weed out people. They are these are not egalitarian exams. Okay, where you take the exam and you just make any score, and you can just get in, get into a university, get a certain job, immigrate. Okay, the universities and the countries or whatever, they want you to reach a certain score. Okay, the score in IELTS goes from zero to nine. Nine is like speaking like a native speaker, whereas zero is like you didn't even do anything hardly on the exam. Okay, a lot of times they want like about a seven. Okay, but I can't speak for everywhere. But a seven is about good enough English. It's good enough. It may not be perfect, but it's pretty good. Because like I said, nine is like speaking like a native speaker. And there are students, I do get students that speak like a native speaker. Okay, they might make a few errors in grammar, but they speak like a native speaker. And then I have students that I've worked with over the years that can't speak any English, and I had to try to work with them and bring them up to where they could speak. Okay, and that takes months and months and months and months and months. It goes on. Okay, so um so I asked her, did she know, that she familiar with the official book? Okay, because there is an official book for these exams. Okay, now there are a lot of books and materials floating around out there by different publishers. Okay. But you have to understand when you are tackling these types of exams that um that these publishers are out to make money. Okay, and they don't care. They'll have material that's similar to the exam, but they don't care about whether you pass or not. They're out to make money. That's their goal. I had a student back a few years ago that was Lebanese. Her English was pretty good. It was pretty high. Her level was high. She had taken the IELTS one time and not did well. She said the first time she took it, she barely studied, and she used a book published by Peterson. I think it was a book. No, Barron's, not Peterson, Barron's. And she said she used the book some, and then when she took the exam, the Peterson's book material was actually easier than the questions and the materials on the exam. Okay. So you need the official materials. Okay. This young lady had not looked at any book. She had not used the IELTS.org website. She had not learned about the scoring. She had learned nothing. Okay. She just assumed this is just an exam and I take it and then I get a job. She was saying something about wanting to work abroad. I didn't ask her about where because I was so frustrated in the beginning and offset just completely put off with all that noise. So her English, obviously, she's gonna have to do a lot of work. And I gave her the PDF to the official IELTS book that's published by Cambridge. And I asked her, did she have a book? Has she looked at anything? No. Okay. This is a common problem, and this is a common complaint with my colleagues that my colleagues have, that they will have students that assume about these exams that they're easy, and they often will have people come and say they want to take the exam. They haven't did any research, and they just make total assumptions. Okay, and basically what this video, what I want to talk about, is because besides this incident, is people have blind spots and they have tunnel vision. Okay. So if you have like a blind spot, you have tunnel vision, you are focusing exclusively on the goal and you're not looking at the bigger picture. Okay. And students do this with the exams. Okay. Some students, it's not all, some will do it. And people do this in life. Okay. Let me give you some examples from just life, not at exams, okay? Because I've been pondering this a lot lately. I've been pondering a lot of things about the human condition lately. One of my students that's Turkish that lives in eastern Turkey near the city of Mardin, which is an ancient city in Turkey, has a long history. Used to be called Merida back in not Russian, Roman times. We get into sort of deep philosophical discussions, she and I. Very smart. I've talked about it before. She's 26. She owns her own pharmacy. Very smart, very astute young woman. English is not the best, but she can't always put the things into words. But when she can't, she will put it into translation, and I will give it to her, and then she remembers it. But people will have blind spots so much in life. They will assume that the exam with this young woman and this thing with the exams is very much related to people, how they think in general in life. They will think that, they will not do their homework. They will assume that this is how something is going to be. And they don't do any kind of homework. They will do it in relationships. Okay. There is a person on my Facebook. I don't know who she is. After my father died, there were a lot of people that came on my Facebook page, sent me friend requests, and these are like, I had a small amount of people on my Facebook page, and I want to keep it that way. I didn't want people up there just putting up about a lot of superficial stuff. I wanted only just people that, more serious people or people I actually knew on my page. But I went ahead and accepted some of these people. They live in my town. And this woman, I think she's probably a little younger than me, but she's not young. She constantly puts up every day about relationships. Okay. And a lot of relationships now are not good. Male female relationships, not good in the Black community, not good in a lot of places. Okay. I remember talking to a couple of my Turkish friends that are both women that are professors now in Turkey. This was when they were getting their PhDs here in my hometown. And they were talking about a lot of the people that are married that we know, our friends that are married, they complain they're not happy. They're not happy with certain things. And a lot of times with this thing with people, People have, like I said, tunnel vision and blind spots. They look at the goal. I want to take this exam. I want this. I want this job. I want this job, so I want to take this exam, but I haven't done any preparation. I know zero about the exam. Same thing about relationships. They will be like, I know absolutely nothing about this person. This person is just telling me things I want to hear at this point. And then when they marry the person, it's a whole different story because their goal was solely, I want a relationship, I want marriage, and they are not looking at deeper things. And a lot of times they actually get signs early in the relationship, but they blind themselves to it. Okay. Someone on my Twitter page is a Syrian Christian. She's a lawyer. She talked about this in a post the other week. She said, you cannot complain. She basically said, you cannot complain about when you get into a marriage and you saw all the warning signs. Okay. You saw the warning signs before you got into the marriage. And then you turn around, you married this person, you knew they were problematic, and then you go and marry them anyway. Okay. Because your goal was, oh, I want to get married. I don't want to be alone. Okay. So this is a common thing, blind spot and tunnel vision, people not doing their homework. um there's a phenomenon going on where you have these young women are coming from certain countries. Okay, these are young women coming from certain countries. The dating app thing is really big now in certain cultures. Not so much, I think, in America, because we have a lot of crime here and people, it's big in the United States, but a lot of people are very, very wary about dating apps because it's like we have crime and people get killed by people they met online. They get scammed over here, everything. And so Americans are very, very skeptical about dating apps and stuff like that. And I'm not saying everybody, but there are a lot of people that are. We have a lot of people being scammed by people in Africa that are like stealing people's profile materials from off their social media and pretending to be these people. A lot of this is happening in the United States. Families have actually broken up here because, like mom will meet somebody online and our kids will warn their mom, don't do this. Okay. You don't know anything about this person. And then they get scammed out a lot of money and everything. So, but people will have blind spots, like I keep saying. And this phenomenon has apparently become big in certain countries. Okay. Um, I remember early on, back a few years ago, they were saying that a lot of African American women, it was very difficult to find and meet people, for us to meet people, um, quality people on dating apps. Okay. That a lot of times in our profile, nobody comes to our profile, hardly. Okay. And so a lot of African American women are skeptical about things like this. Not all, but some are. But there are women from certain countries that are young, very naive, and they get on these apps and they meet men in foreign countries. They are trying to get out of these countries that are poor countries, and they want to get out. And it's sort of a trend. They target certain ethnic groups. Okay, they target certain ethnic groups, and it becomes like this big popular thing that is done on the internet. Okay, and then these certain ethnic groups target these women because they think, oh, well, these women are not from our culture, and they are probably easy. They're low hanging fruit, and they are easy to get. Okay, they're easy to get sexually. So we're going to target these women. Okay. Also, there's human trafficking going on dating apps. You have to be very careful about that. But a lot of people are skeptical over here, and they feel unsafe about these apps. I have a student that was talking about it. He's Turkish, and he was saying they're not safe. They're not safe to do that. But these women are desperate. They come from very poor countries. And then some are just greedy. They want to get out of their country. It's a status symbol to get with certain people of a certain complexion, and they want to get out of their country. Okay. And they will get on these apps, and then they will know absolutely, they will meet these men, and some of them will go to these countries and they know absolutely nothing about the country or the culture. Nothing. Okay. They have supreme tunnel vision and blind spot because their goal is, I want to get married and I want to have a better condition. I want to, quote, as they say, softer life. Um, and then they get into situations where the person, some of these cultures, women, there's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of abuse in American culture, but some of these cultures have a lot of abuse in them. You have men that are super controlling, super macho, as they would say, macho, very controlling. And I'm not saying that women should. I'm not for women doing anything that they want to do. Okay, just go out here and do anything. You don't need to be lawless, but there are some men that want every move you make. They want to be know what you're doing. Want to know you can't do this. You can't do this. You cannot be the full person that you are meant to be. But the problem with these people is they had tunnel vision and they did not do their research and they were looking solely at the goal. Never look solely at a goal. Okay. You need to see the bigger picture around you. Okay. You need to do your research. You need to be aware. You don't need to romanticize certain things. Like this is also happening with expats in the that went to Africa from my country, African Americans. Some of them now, after about a 3 or 4 year honeymoon living in certain African countries, they are finding out that it's not what they thought. It's not easy as they thought. They're not going to be treated special like, oh, you come back home to the motherland and we're just so glad and we just embrace you and everything. No, they're finding out they're being treated just like any other person. They're getting scammed, and then some of them are actually losing their lives. I've been listening to some YouTubers talking about the deaths of several Black women from the United States and the UK and the country of Gambia. Okay, I didn't mention that country, but I don't want to talk too much more. I don't want to make certain countries look but we have to. My point is this: we have to be aware, and we have to look at the bigger picture in life. We can't develop tunnel vision. Okay, we cannot. We don't need to put on the rose-colored glasses. We have to understand that life is difficult. Life is not easy. It can be beautiful, but it can be difficult, and it can be dangerous. And if we are not aware, we can pay a terrible price if we're not aware. This life is like a minefield. You have to maneuver through that minefield because you can easily step on a mine and get blown up. Okay? So I just wanted to talk about this because this has really been on my mind lately, observing, from this student what happened last week and observing a lot of different people. Um you need to do your homework in this life. You need to be aware. And it is not a safe enough place just to think, oh, I'm going to look solely at my goal and I'm not going to prepare. I'm just going to assume that everything is going to be okay. It's going to be perfect. All this. So be careful about this, whether it's taking exams, job, relationship, marriage, all of this. Be moving to another country. Be aware. Do your homework. Find out about all the stuff that you need to know in order to be prepared and to not find yourself to be open out there to become a victim. Okay? So I'm going to end here. I just wanted to give these words of wisdom. I hope they will help someone out there and at least get people to think. If you're listening to my channel, get you to think about aspects of your life from professional to personal, what you need to be aware of and what you need to do. Okay? All right. So I'm going to end here. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. So this is Sincere Ray. Until next time.